For people that are not ready to share their story or may never or maybe they're not even interested in sharing their story. That's okay, but there's nothing to be ashamed of. You're not alone. There's so many people out there that can relate to feelings that you've felt. You're not the only one who's felt those feelings before. Hi, I'm Candice, your host of Kids of Overdose, the show where we hear personal accounts from people who have lost a parent to drug overdose or substance abuse. This is part 2 of Not All Who Wander Are Lost. All my life, I've never met anyone else who's lost a parent in this way. So, for the past year, I made it my mission to search the internet and YouTube for people who've had. They trusted me with sharing their stories, and now it's my turn to share mine. I highly recommend you listen to part 1 first to hear all the details of my father's death. This interview is being conducted by my therapist/life coach, Brian Nandy of BN Counseling. Thank you for listening to the conclusion of Kids of Overdose.
Yeah, he may have suffered, but it sounds like he also had some really good moments.
Yes.
People experienced him as a joyful person.
Yes. And I have a lot of great memories with him. Even though I was so young, I do have memories. He would take me to the beach all the time. We'd go on the amusement park and on the boardwalk, and he never yelled at me. I think he only yelled at me once, and I'll never forget it. We lived on a boat for a little bit, and I had like a little radio boombox with Madonna tape. I was listening to Madonna since I'm 5 years old, and
Wow.
I was listening to the tape, and then I would hear a song, and then I would rewind it back, and then play it again, and over and over and over and over again, and that was the only time he ever yelled at me. He was just like, "Turn that off," which I don't blame him, because if my daughter listens to the same song over and over again really loud, that would drive me crazy too. But yeah, other than that, he never yelled at me. He was very tender, very fun, gave a lot of attention to me when we were together.
I wonder what else was similar. When you bring up music, I wonder if he too had musical
Yeah, he
interest.
was very into music. He used to doodle a lot, and I have some of his notebooks and different things he doodled on and the different bands. He wrote on a wall at my grandma's house. She still lives there. I lived there after he died with my mom, and I had his room, and on one of the walls, like, under the window seat, he doodled Pink Floyd and Neil Young and The Who and all these bands that he loved, and it's all still there, written under the window seat at my grandma's house. I could look at it whenever I want, and I love it. And I like a lot of the same music he does, and
Oh,
I didn't know it, but in my 20s, I really wanted a blue Mustang. I wanted a Grabber blue Mustang. I don't know why, I just really wanted it. I loved them, I thought they were beautiful,
mm.
and when I told my family that that was my favorite car and that I wanted to get it, they all were looking at each other like, "What?" And then they told me that my dad had that car when he was, like, 19, 18. He had that car, and he crashed it. He had a blue Mustang that he crashed with he was with his friends. But it's so funny because, like, I
No.
liked that same car, and I have never seen a picture of him with that car. Like, I had no idea. We liked the same
How
car
uncanny.
in the same color, and we like the same
Wow.
music, and I just wish I could be
That
as
is
tough
so
and
unfair.
fearless.
Well, I guess it depends on how we define tough and fearless.
Yeah.
Because speaking about parents who overdose requires speaking out and stepping out of the shadows of shame requires psychological strength.
Yeah.
It's talking about addiction, it's talking about death. Huh. Just talking about addiction itself is so difficult and multitude. Speaking about death and grief and loss in itself is its own domain, bringing them together, the confluence of what makes them. What I like about your podcast, I've never heard of one of such before. And prior to you bringing this up, I mean, I've been doing psychotherapy for about 25 years now, and not once have I ever really thought or heard, if that I can remember of parents who overdose.
Oh,
If you
wow.
have children, a sibling,
Yeah.
cousin,
Well,
I
I
don't
know
know
that,
if I've ever.
yeah, I know that there's a lot because there was a study that was done, and in a 10-year span, they found that over 300,000 children lost a parent to overdose. I think it was like 2001 to 2010. And I lost my dad back in 1991. And today it's 2025. So you put all those decades together, and there are hundreds and thousands of us all over the country, and you don't even know it. Nobody says anything. And I can understand why. It never feels like the right place or time. You don't want people to judge your parent for what happened. You don't want people to make assumptions about you and your childhood. There's just so many things we worry that people are going to think of us that we just don't say anything.
Yes. And that's why it takes so much courage, self esteem, an organization of your perspective and attitude about that story, that experience of a parent, to come to a place where you have more pride than shame, to be able to talk about it, to broadcast it, to use the devil to serve God, to use the tragedy to serve as healing wisdom for others. Reaction formation, using what is anxious and becoming the opposite of it. That is the purpose of life. Essentially, overcoming, having the ability to look back at life and recognizing, like, wow, I overcame quite a bit of things. And I have made a difference with my life. And I can recognize that I've made a difference in another person's life. And I can have pride to coexist with my thoughts of those embarrassing moments or shameful moments. In psychology, in Enneagram, right, there is this wonderful teacher who happens to be a monk, Father Richard Rohr. And from a religious perspective, we talk about original sin. But what he talks about in regards to personality and a purpose driven life, from second stage of life, he talks about original shame. So when we are young, and often we may not have memory of it because it happens really young, where we experience shame and we change, we transform. If essentially, as an example, if we were once very playful and we were shamed for being playful, a child might for example, might become serious. And so we're constantly wanting to repair, and so we might want to be playful. But it's a place we visit and not stay. But what is play? What does it mean to be free from that shame? And it becomes our discovery. So your story is essentially, in my opinion, for individuals to overcome their original shame and to return as a homecoming to their authentic self, to their aligned self, that they are not split, that they are not living in duality,
Yeah.
that that they can be who they are, perfect and flawed altogether.
Yes. Because we all are, right? In some way.
How wonderful it is to have this conversation. It's an appreciation of life amidst suffering and uncertainty, gives us pause about what matters most. It makes me think about my own child that could bring tears to my eyes, to what, becoming a parent, wanting to protect them from their suffering, and yet they are going to go through it. Knowing that you are loved helps you endure the journey, to survive it and then to thrive, to overcome and to thrive. You knowing who you are with your children, your capacity to endure, to be optimistic. Not that you can, you can have your doubts as well, but you have intrinsically a possibility mindset. That's part of your creativity. It's not just artistic.
Yeah.
And I guess you're going to a workshop or gala or something. I don't know, just free associating, talking about a person's story.
Yeah, it's like I wanted, well, what am I gonna do? And trying to figure out what the thing is, and then it finally coming to me, and it took so long, but I guess I just wasn't ready, and then it just came to me when I was ready, and it was unexpected, but I don't know.
Storytelling journalism.
So it's storytelling. Yes. And this is me now telling my story, which I've been wanting to tell my story forever. And I try to write books and it's just never comes out right. I hate the process. I don't know where it's going. I stall. It just doesn't feel right. And so finally I can tell my story in this way. And I still want to write a book, but I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, yeah. It's really quite fascinating how meandering life is. And we may start a project, but then that becomes the secondary, because in doing that thing emerges the primary inspiring vocation, the thing that heals your soul, so that now you can write that book or create that thing that is much more aligned and purposeful and clear. The story behind it. People whom you can't have that conversation because it's too heavy, but if you could share it, what would it be?
You don't have to hide who you are. You don't have to be afraid about people judging you. Those people just don't understand. They've never been through what you've been through. So how can they understand, right? But there are people who can, and I might be one of them. And if you ever do want to talk to any of those other people, let me know. Or
What
go
I
to
see.
different groups. So Grasp, they're a group. Grief recovery after a substance passing. They have meetings all over the country. So you can go to their website and find a location near to you. But there are places and support groups of people like you that you can talk to if you ever want to do that.
I see what's possible as well, a becoming of a hub of communal support, a very, very niche space that is sacred, where people can be understood. You offer that, and how wonderful that you've created this space like a hot line or a warm line, but this is so specific to a reforming improvement.
I would love to answer a warm line of people who've lost a parent to overdose. Oh my God. Because in the past I was interested in like being on the other end of like a suicide hotline.
Mm,
But I don't have personal experience with that or training or anything. But just talking to somebody as a normal person, not as like a doctor and hey, yeah, I lost a parent to overdose too. Like maybe it could be a casual warm line, right?
mm, yes.
I wonder if those things exist. Like not for this specific topic, but are there like casual warm lines where you're not like
They
at the end of your rope?
they are, and I think they're volunteers. I'm not sure if they exist. Contact We Care used to be a warm line, but we don't really know of them because the suicide line is really what's promoted most.
Yeah, and like
Um,
1-800 gambling and things like that.
Correct. I wonder if, yeah, I fantasize that right now that your podcast will inherently give live birth to a warm line, to group meetings.
Who knows? Yeah.
And thank you for having me participate in this conversation because it is such a unique life experience.
Thank you more. Thank you for all of your spiritual insights and things that people can take away from this conversation, things that I'm going to take away. Thank you so much.
And to others who are hearing this, right, sometimes the initial meeting with a psychotherapist may not be a match. Sometimes it does take a lot of trials. But isn't that what life is about? We enter into a space, it doesn't work. We then, okay, so what's this? It's not a dead end, it's a redirection. Your journey to this discovery is that famous Tolkien quote, not all those who wander are lost.
Oh, yeah. So maybe my dad wasn't lost. Maybe he was just wandering.
He was in discovery. Yes.
Yeah, that feels nicer.
He was going through so much, but he had that inner compass that kept redirecting to find his north. And that's a great legacy.
Yeah,
Till the end, it was still discovery.
I'm very proud of him.
You know, that matters so much that our children are proud of us.
Yeah, I'm so proud of him in so many ways. I'm proud that he was able to quit heroin, which I know reading and things I've seen on TV. Science, I know that that's one of the hardest things to ever quit. And he was able to do that. And that's so hard. And I'm so proud of him. And I'm proud of that he was such a great person and that I got to have him as my dad. I'm so proud of that.
Pushing my tears in just hearing that.
Oh, well, thank you, Brian. This was
Thank you.
wonderful.
How would you like to close this? What would the it never really closes, right? It's an ongoing conversation, but for this just this conversation,
I don't know why I hate having this thought in my head all by myself. So I want to close it with I have such a strong relationship with music and my dad, listening to the music that he listened to and genuinely just loving that music and enjoying that music. And there's so many questions that we have that we will never get the answers to. And the one question that I wonder about the most, which may seem like the stupidest question in the world, this is what burns my mind. Okay. I wonder what was the last thing he heard before he died? Like, was the TV on in the background? Was the radio playing? And I just hope that there was a song playing on the radio that he loved and that it was a special song. And I wish I could know what that song was. Oh my God, how much I would love to know the answer to that question. But if I had to guess, I don't know why. I think it might have been Elton John, and I think it would have been the song Someone Saved My Life Tonight. I don't know why. I'm just convinced myself, imagining it. I don't know. And then I think to myself, nobody got to save my dad that night. But I think maybe, who knows, maybe that song was playing. And it's a beautiful song. And I hope there was beautiful music playing when he left, this earth.
we get to believe that, your alignment about the blue Corvette
Mustang.
Mustang. Thank you for correcting me. There's this inherent, intrinsic, and uncanny knowing. So perhaps we get to trust your intuition, the wisdom of your intuition in that knowing.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful song.
And because I really hope it wasn't a commercial playing.
I
I've
love your sense of
I've
humor.
thought of that too. And I'm like, "Oh God, I hope it wasn't a commercial. How horrible would that have been?" You know?
It could have been a playful. Some commercials are so funny.
Yes.
If it was, I hope it was a funny one, but I am determined that it was an Elton John song
Yes.
when
And
he transitioned.
I went to see Elton John in concert, and
Oh,
there were so many songs that I loved, and I had my phone ready. Like, okay, I'm gonna record this. I have to save this memory forever. And I couldn't. It was so beautiful. I had to put the phone down. I had to just be in that moment and listen. It was like I was paralyzed.
wow.
I couldn't ruin it by doing anything else but listening. And yeah, it was a really great experience.
It's so amazing that this podcast brings your dad and you together,
Yeah.
right? Like, he's thinking about him, talking about him makes him present, immediately present here.
Yeah, I hope so. I know he's with me.
Correct? You've been to a Madonna concert as well.
Yes, my hero. Her music
Wait.
helped bring joy in my life as a child when I was sad that I wasn't going to see my dad, and that I didn't understand that he was gone and that why he wasn't going to come back. And it was, it's hard to kind of understand that as a kid, but her music just made me really happy and was able to take my mind away from some of those confusing thoughts. So it helped a lot, and I'm very lucky because she's still making amazing music today. So I'm so lucky that I got to have my hero be a hero
Oh,
forever, still today. She was not a one-hit wonder, thank God. She just keeps it going all my life. The songs for my whole life through. So that was really helpful for me as well.
such a great idol, someone who dares to be different,
Yes.
who overcomes her. I'm sure she has her own sets of overcoming to manage
Yeah.
to
She
stand
is a
tall.
reminder to be yourself and don't care what other people think of you. Just do you however you want to do it.
All right. She has been shamed, and yet she stands tall and has given so much strength to millions of people to be themselves. With a grateful heart, thank you, Candice.
And thank you, Brian.
And we'll speak again.
Yes, of course. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. This is the last episode of season 1. I don't know if there will be a season 2. It all depends if I can find more people to interview. If not, I'll move on to another creative project like I always do. I'm happy that I can put all these stories out into the universe to help anyone who needs to hear them. This experience has helped me to overcome my trauma. If you want to reach me with any comments, shoot me an email at candice@kidsofo.com. The show is also searchable on TikTok and Instagram. I highly recommend reading the book Shatterproof: How I Overcame the Shame of Losing My Parents to Opioid Addiction and Found My Sideline Shimmy. Written by ESPN sideline reporter Lauren Sisler. It was an inspiration during my journey, and it's a beautiful, relatable story of grief. Even though I cried so much reading through it, there was no way I was going to put it down. Even though our experiences were so different, there was so much that I had in common with her, and you might too. This podcast is not sponsored in any way. Until we maybe meet again, take good care.